Thank you, Madam President. I also rise to extend my condolences and the condolences of my conference to the family of Justice Kay. Like Senator Stewart Cousins, I also have a beautiful picture I hang in my office prominently. It's a photo of Justice Kay swearing me in on the day of January 5th, 2005, when I became a senator. It's one of my proudest possessions, and I will hold it on my wall forever. She swore in many of us, and she provided an example for many of us to follow. She was a transformative woman. We've already heard she was the first woman to be appointed to the New York State Court of Appeals, the first woman to hold the position of Chief Judge. She was also the first female ever made a partner in her law firm. She was a transformative woman. She really was a trailblazer. She could have rested on her laurels, though, as the first. You know, she could have said, I've secured my place in history, but she took her responsibility to the court system very, very seriously. She took over as Chief Judge in 1993 and decided that her most important responsibility was to change the way the court system operated it. She wanted to make sure that the courts were really responsive to the constituency. She took on reforming and reorganizing the criminal justice courts, creating special courts for domestic violence and drug courts, and ensuring that needed services were provided in those courts. She also took on one of the courts that are very important to me, and that is the People's Court or the Family Court. It was Justice Kay that put forward the plan to reform our family courts. She pleaded with us to increase the number of family court judges in our family courts because she understood that the longer children languished in foster care or they didn't have permanency in their life, that they would be permanently affected forever. She was devoted to making sure that the family courts were responsive to children especially. She helped Senator Ruth Hassel Thompson marshal through, finally, no-fault divorce here in New York State. She was a part of all of those things. She truly was a remarkable woman. Our court system is so much better for it. Our state is better for it. And every one of us, I believe, are better legislators, having been influenced by Justice Judith Kay. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hoylman.
And I wanted to thank the leadership for this resolution. I rise to commemorate Judge Kay, a constituent, a classic Upper West Sider, elegant, smart, witty, urbane, and she was no pushover. Just Kay was a true trailblazer. She lit the first spark, if you recall, that became the firestorm that swept across the nation for marriage equality. That was Judge Kay. And she laid the groundwork for Governor Cuomo in this chamber 5 years after she dissented in the decision of Hernandez versus Robles to pass marriage equality in New York. And it bears remembering her prophetic words in that decision, which, again, she dissented when the court ruled against marriage equality. She said that, in her opinion, she was confident that future generations will look back on the court's decision as an unfortunate misstep. And I think we can all agree with that prophetic statement from her. She also said in that decision, which I think suggests her lightheartedness as well, that there are enough marriage licenses to go around for everyone. So I am here to say that we'll miss Judge Kay and we'll remember her words and her deeds, and the fact that one of her clerks, Roberta Kaplan, another constituent of mine, actually became the lead juror, the lawyer in the decision of United States versus Windsor that helped ensconce marriage equality in this United States. So thank you, Judge Kay. We'll remember you, and we are so grateful for your service.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hassel Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that there's very little that I could left to say, but certainly I would not let the opportunity pass without adding my voice to that of members of this chamber. For 12 years in my work here in the State Senate, I have been on Crime Victims Correction as well as the Judiciary Committee. And in that time, I have had the supreme opportunity of following a pattern and a path that was laid down by Judge Kaye. You have heard each of my colleagues enumerate specific examples of how she made sure that justice was served. And I was so appreciative because all we had to do was to pick up any volume and take a page and know where we should be putting the legislative initiatives to bring justice to the state of New York. And whether it was in the area of domestic violence, whether it was same-sex marriage, whether it was in juvenile justice, or if it was just in justice for all. Judith Kaye was certainly, as you've heard, a landmark lady. I had the honor not only of being sworn in by her here for several years of my re-elections, but also we were honored together by an organization, Safe Harbor, that is a women's battered sheltered group. And I want to tell you that a little different from the other characteristics that people have noted her for, she also had a passion for shoes. And that particular night, you know, one of the most conservative appearing judges that you will ever meet. But when I looked down and saw her red shoes with their red bottoms, I was just fascinated the whole night long. It was a girl thing. I acknowledge that. But it was the human side of an extraordinary giant. And I love that about her. And I will always remember, and I too have two pictures in my office, one of being sworn in by her my first year in the Senate, but the other of the honor that she and I won together. And I will always feel doubly honored to have been on the same playbill with someone of her stature. And I thank the leadership for bringing this opportunity for all of us to stand before you today and talk about an extraordinary woman that has influenced our thinking, certainly in this chamber, but across the state of New York. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator DeFrancisco?
Yes, I chaired Judiciary for several years during Judge Kaye's term, and I send my condolences to the family. She truly was a remarkable woman, and I'm not going to repeat what everyone else said. It's been said, I think, very well already, but I want to give you one other concept about Judge Kaye. I said repeatedly during her term on the Court of Appeals that she was the best politician in Albany. And I meant that in a very sincere sense, not tongue-in-cheek, because she knew how to get things done. Her career in lobbying came after, another career in lobbying continued after she left the bench, but she knew how to present an issue, how to deal with people in a way, even if you disagreed when she first came in, you would clearly understand her position and the merits of that position before you left. And to really prove it, it was my second year in the Senate, and I think it was the second year, maybe the third, I can't remember, it was so long ago. But I voted against a Court of Appeals nominee on the floor. And thereafter, it could have been my third year, but thereafter I was chair of Judiciary and was invited to a Bar Association dinner that the Judiciary was putting on because I was chair of Judiciary in New York City. And lo and behold, at the table I was sitting at, I was sitting next to this judge I voted against. And as Judge Kaye escorted me to my position, she had a real twinkle in her eye, and she made sure that I got the point. Well, I got the point, and I got all the points thereafter that she set in my direction, whether directly or indirectly. But she was truly a remarkable woman, and she's going to be gravely missed for all the work she's done on or off the bench. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to join my colleagues in offering condolences to the family of Judge Kaye. And I also am remembering what a brilliant appointment this was by former Governor Mario Cuomo, who appointed her in 1993 as Chief Judge. I really would like to just acknowledge my personal benefit, and it's not personal, but it's personal political benefit from Judge Kaye's work, as she was one of the initial founding people, judges, who helped to establish the Center for Court Innovation, which is a nonprofit think tank that is independent of the court system. However, it serves as the judiciary's research and development arm. That particular organization has been responsible for one of the first, if not the first, and perhaps not the first, but perhaps the second, community court, certainly in the city of New York. And they have continued to work with communities to bring the court system into communities and provide for a system of the judiciary that serves them most effectively and efficiently. And within that context, she has been responsible for the expansion of a very important part of our court system in this state, and that is the youth courts. There is a community court in the community of Red Hook that I represent, which has, by its presence and by the work there with the people in that community, with law enforcement, with the prosecutor's office, and with any number of organizations in that district, have changed the trajectory of so many people who, without that court, would have been subjected to a very, very different outcome in terms of their reliance on the court system. And I compliment her, and I appreciate her. I will never forget the role that she played because there is a generational change that she has left as it relates to the court system, and especially as it relates to the way we treat youth in the state of New York in courts. So I hope that while we are paying tribute to her work and we're thanking her for that, I hope that we are saying that we're committed to continuing what she has, the legacy that she has left for us, and that is that we must look at the court system and look at our roles in that system as where do we go to improve the system so that it is even more supportive and that it works better for all of the citizens of our state. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Seeing no other members wishing to be heard, the question is on the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted. Mr. Floor Leader.
Yes, Madam President, this is open for co-sponsorship, and if anyone does not want to co-sponsor, notify the desk. Otherwise, you'll be on the resolution. Next, we have a resolution by Senator Kennedy at number 3261. I ask that the title only be read and request its immediate adoption, and then recognize Senator Kennedy.
Secretary will read.
Legislative Resolution number 3261 by Senator Kennedy, congratulating student-athlete Ali Shawish upon the occasion of being named All-Western New York Player for 2015 in boys soccer.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to honor an exceptional high school soccer player and a strong team leader in my district, Ali Shawish from the Lackawanna School District Varsity Boys Soccer Team. Ali is hard at work in classes at school today and can't be here to join us, but I feel it's important we recognize the immense skill that he possesses. We'll be recognizing him later this week along with his team back in the great city of Lackawanna. Ali, in his senior year playing for the Lackawanna boys soccer team, ended his career by being named All-Western New York player and All-New York State team for 2014 and 2015 in boys soccer, a rare and fantastic achievement. Ali was an integral part of the Lackawanna varsity boys soccer team, leading his team to 3 consecutive Erie County interscholastic conference titles. As we all know, 1 title on its own is hard to accomplish, but 3 in a row is truly amazing. Over the 3 years that he played varsity soccer for Lackawanna, Ali scored 106 career goals and many, many assists as well. But these goals included 48 goals and 16 assists in just 19 games his senior year, the top goal scorer in all of Western New York in 2015. Ali averaged 2.5 goals per game, a truly unbelievable feat. Besides being named team captain in both his junior and senior years for the Lackawanna varsity soccer team, Ali was also named Lackawanna MVP, All Western New York Small School First Team, as well as All New York State. Ali's accomplishments are truly worthy of recognition by this honorable body. I also want to mention Ali's family, including his father, Abdullah Shawish, for all of the sacrifices that they've made and support that they've provided to help Ali achieve such great accomplishments. Congratulations to Ali. He's made Lackawanna, Western New York, and all of this great Empire State extremely proud of him, his family, and all of his accomplishments. We're looking forward to future accomplishments from Ali as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is on the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted. Mr. Floor Leader.
Madam President, I have a motion, if I could. On page 5, I offer the following amendments to calendar number 9, Senate Print 6378, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar.
Senator Kennedy wants to open it up.
Who does?
Senator Kennedy wants to open it up.
With respect to the last resolution, Senator Kennedy would like to open it up for co-sponsorship. If you do not want to be a co-sponsor, please notify the desk.
The resolution is open for co-sponsorships. Mr. Floor
All right,
Leader.
can we now take up the non-controversial reading of the calendar?
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 6 by Senator Griffo, Senate Print 2722B, enact amend the legislative law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result. Oh. Senator Squadron.
My vote, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. I rise today in opposition to this bill, not, I want to be clear, in opposition to this idea. In fact, this is an idea that we currently have in the Senate rules. It's an idea that has been pointed out we can do in the Senate rules. In fact, we have it in Rule 3, Section 1 for the temporary president, Rule 5, Section 3 for committee chairs. This is a bill that has never moved in the Assembly. It is the only attempted reform we have seen on the Senate floor in now 2 years, despite everything that's happened in and around Albany. And I have to tell you, to call it weak tea would be suggesting it's stronger than it is. Let's be clear, the idea of term limits for leadership and committee chairs could certainly be part of an overall reform package, both in the rules and in legislation. We don't require legislation to do it. It already happens in the Senate rules. It's rare that we go past legislation that's already in the Senate rules. And it does not get at the core of the kind of problems that we've seen in Albany. Closing the LLC loophole and getting a vote on that would make a huge difference. Dealing with campaign finance and outside income and transparency would make a huge difference. I'm going to vote no today. I'd be happy to see this provision in the future as part of an omnibus reform package, and I urge the majority not to stop here, but to start here and actually give us some reform this year. I vote no, Madam President.
really think we need to get over our inferiority complex here in the legislature. We need to do things to support our leadership. We need to have more committee meetings. We need to have a full-time legislature. Let's devote more resources. Let's balance the power between the executive and the legislature rather than try to tie our hands behind our backs at every juncture. So I'll be voting no, Madam President. Thank you.
The Senate will be recorded in the negative. Senator DeFrancisco?
Yes, I vote yes on this bill. First of all, it is in the Senate rules now, but a law has much more substantial of effect. You have to have the bill changed and the law changed subsequently if it becomes law, and you have to have the governor to sign it. Maybe the governor wouldn't sign a repeal. This is much stronger. And we have passed it in the past. Because the Assembly hasn't passed it as well, that means we shouldn't. That doesn't make any sense as far as I'm concerned. We should do it. There's many instances where the Assembly decides to follow one of our bills in the future, and we should do it. And obviously, the power in both legislative bodies is concentrated on leadership. I think this is an excellent reform measure, and we should all support it. And lastly, if the implication is that we should only support a package of bills, is, I think, wrong. And we showed that when the women's equality agenda was held up for about 3 years until the Assembly finally decided on voting for each specific bill on its merits. So this is a good bill, and I hope everyone would reconsider and vote aye. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just ask that if we are sincere about our efforts to begin a discussion and to look at a lot of aspects and avenues of reform, this is a beginning. And yes, we do have a rule in this House, thanks to all the members of this House, that we are trying to lead by example. But to incorporate this as a statute is even more important, because this should apply to the entire legislature, and we need to join voices to recommend and request that our colleagues in the other House get serious. We've heard a lot of discussion there about new reforms under new leadership. This is a great first step. This is an opportunity to empower members. This is an opportunity to involve more members in leadership, to ensure that we have not only more vigorous conversations, but we continue to invigorate the process. So I think this is a good common sense first step, and we need to not only lead by example in this House, but to have this rule in place, but to pass this as a statute, and to urge our colleagues in the Assembly to do likewise. So I would ask everyone to reconsider, and please join me in voting yes.
Senator Griffith will be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Little, to explain your vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, am going to vote yes on this bill, and I truly believe that whether or not we have a good leader in existence, there is a time element where we should limit the time that they can be the leader of our whole House. And the fact that the Assembly has not adopted this as one of their rules is more reason why we should have it as a law so that it affects both houses. Plus, if we went on the idea that if the Assembly was not going to adopt the bill or didn't have the same bill in their House, there would be no reason for us to pass it in this House. I think we'd be giving up the reason for having two bodies of legislatures in New York State. So we would be giving up our real role in state government. We have many, many bills that pass the Assembly year in, or pass the Senate year in, year out, until they finally are adopted by the Assembly. So I vote aye.
Senator Little will be recording the affirmative. Senator Savino, to explain your vote.
Madam President, I'm rising in opposition to this bill. And I just want to say this clearly to all of us here in this House. I have a firm belief that people can disagree without being disagreeable. And there are dissenting opinions on this piece of legislation. Senator Griffith, you and I have talked about it in the past. Every 2 years, this legislature, after elections, and we are sworn in that January, we get together and we adopt the rules of the House. We decide how we will organize, and we decide how we will operate. A few years ago, we made a choice that we were going to limit the terms for leaders and for committee chairs so that we would have that kind of discussion and we didn't put too much power in the hands of one person. Those decisions should be best left to us in the 2-year term that we are elected to office. My objection to this bill is because I believe we would be binding the hands of future legislators to make a decision about how this House should be organized in their term. We have the ability to encourage discussion. We have the ability to have robust debate. We have all of those things if we choose to allow it here in this House through the rules of the Senate, and we all cooperate with that. So I'm going to continue to vote no against this because I don't think we need legislation to teach us to behave the way we all know that we can. We can debate, we can discuss, we can organize, and we should hold it to the 2 years that we are here and not bind future legislators to our own behavior. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Savino will record in the negative. Announce the result.
In relation to calendar number 6, those recorded in the negative are Senators Comrie, Diaz, DeLon, Espaillat, Hamilton, Hoylman, Montgomery, Parker, Perkins, Savino, and Squadron. Also Senator Rivera. Ayes 50, nays 12.
Before him. Senator Rasenhofer, to explain your vote.
I rise to explain my vote today, and after listening to some of the comments, would just like to espouse on my reasons. I think it's a good law that we enact, and for the very reason that some have said we shouldn't do it, I think that's the reason why we should. I think that this is such an important piece of legislation that it is something that should bind future legislatures. I don't think that this is a rule that should be up to the legislature to be able to change from year to year. I think that the limitation of leadership, whether in the leader of the Senate or in the committee chairs, is very, very important that we make a very bold statement that this is something that should apply across the board, whether Republicans in power, Democrats are in power. It shouldn't change from year to year or every session to every session. Furthermore, the argument that the Assembly hasn't passed it, I don't believe is really a reason not to do it. I mean, the Assembly was not in favor of the Women's Equality Act being passed as it was in this House. Eventually, that came to be. The Assembly was not in favor of a tax cap. Eventually, a tax cap was in place. The Assembly was not in favor of full restoration of GEA. We passed that legislation. They followed suit. So I think that by setting a very clear example to limit the terms of leaders to 8 years, we set a very firm example, we put it into law, and it won't be changed. So I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Senator Rasenhofer will record in the affirmative. Announce the result.
Ayes 50, nays 12.
The bill is passed. Mr. Floor Leader, that completes the non-controversial. No, it does not. I'm sorry, the Secretary will continue to read. Sorry.
Calendar number 7 by Senator Robach, Senate Print 5507, enactment of the State Finance Law.
Bill is laid aside.
Calendar number 10 by Senator Farley, Senate Print 6379, enactment of the Business Corporation Law.
Mr. Clerk, please read the last section.
Section 3 of this act shall take effect on the same date and same manner as Chapter 421 of the laws of 2015.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young. Ayes 62.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 15 by Senator Amador, Senate Print 6384, enactment of the Social Services Law.
Read the last section.
Section 4 of this act shall take effect on the same date and same manner as Chapter 436 of the laws of 2015.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young. Ayes 62.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 20 by Senator Felder, Senate Print 6389, enactment of the Family Court Act.
Read the last section.
Section 3 of this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young. Ayes 62.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 29 by Senator Seward, Senate Print 6398, enactment Chapter 412 of the laws of 2015.
Read the last section.
Section 2 of this act shall take effect on the same date and same manner as Chapter 412 of the laws of 2015.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young. Ayes 62.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 33 by Senator Ravello, Senate Print 6422, enactment of vehicle and traffic law.
Read the last section.
Section 4 of this act shall take effect in the same date, same manner as Chapter 578 of the laws of 2015.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young. Ayes 62.
Bills passed. Mr. Floor Leader, that's the end of the non-controversial calendar.
Would you please read the controversial calendar?
The Secretary will read. Read the bill.